What's going on, everybody? Thanks so much for being here. Sorry for the delay. I had a little technical difficulties. My audio did not want to take, but we're all set now. As I mentioned, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being Pack a Day Podcast YouTube members. Cannot thank you enough. Like I've always say, you guys are the lifeblood of everything we do here at Pack a Day. So really appreciate all the supports, questions, kindness, generosity, etc. If you're here and you're not a member, that means you are joining us after the fact. Make sure to check out those memberships. Definitely worthwhile getting into the Q&A every week. Weekly episode with Aaron Nagler coming up. Ross Uglum's going to have some members-only content. The Pick'em contest as well. Winner's going to get tickets to a Packers game next year. In fact, somebody's going in my tickets this year who won the challenge last year. So that opening game, Detroit Packers, they're sitting in my season tickets after winning the Pick'em League last year. So check out that as well. But let's get into all of your amazing questions right away. Oh, look at this. I totally forgot to mark it members only as well. I think at least. So yeah, my apologies for that, members. That is totally on me. But guess what? If you're not a member, you get a bonus episode today, and courtesy of me not realizing that I forgot to mark it members only. So apologies for that as well. So still go out and sign up and become a member, like Mr. Chris Jones, Richard C96, Patrick Handle 8290, Wyatt Patrick, PBDs, A Weber, and Neck Knackin all have done. I think there's a couple more as well. Wyatt Patrick, Pips J, and SFP 574. Thank you guys all so much for becoming members. And my apologies to members. I am going to get to members' questions only to begin with. If we have a little bit of extra time, I will open it up to everyone else. But this was supposed to be a members only chat that I just forgot to mark as members only. So no worries at all. But I apologize for that to the members. And for everyone that's in here, I'm going to get to member chats first and foremost. We'll start off, though, with Doohey16. Thank you so incredibly much for the super sticker. Appreciate that a ton. Super kind of you. I really appreciate that support. And then Spildy16 has some friends. Thank you so much for becoming a member as well. All right, we'll start with our member questions first. How did Micah look in his first Packers practice? Fatal Massacre, you know as much as I do. You saw as much as I do. I was not able to attend that first practice. As I kind of talked to you guys, I might try to get there tomorrow. But when it comes to in-season practices, you get stretching, and then you get about 10 to 12 minutes of an individual period, and then they kick you out. So there's not a ton that you can glean from that. It's not a full practice. It's not like you can stay for team activities or things like that. So I was not able to attend the other day on, what was that, Monday? I guess yesterday. But so yeah, you guys saw as much as I did, but by all accounts, he looked good, and hopefully he's going to be ready to go for this week, which also by all accounts, he is going to be. All right. Hi, Andy. It's game week. I'm so excited that real football is just around the corner, and this Michael guy seems to be pretty good too. Yeah, Micah Parsons, it still is pretty surreal. I'm going through and grading every player on it, or every play of Micah Parsons from this past year. Few games in so far, and it's a ton of fun to watch. So I'm excited to share all my takeaways from that with you guys as well. That should be coming up later this week. Would you have done the trade if the Cowboys asked for? No, not trading Edgerrin Cooper. Edgerrin to me is just off limits. And if you're not willing to get the deal done in some other way, we're just not going to have that conversation. Edgerrin Cooper is not a player that I'm willing to have conversations on when it comes to that trade. Yeah, just would be a non-starter for me. So no, I'm unequivocally saying no in that situation. I think even a first in Edgerrin, I'd probably say no. And people might debate whether that's silly or not. I want nothing to do with trading Edgerrin Cooper at this point. He is a insanely talented second-year player on a super cheap contract. I'm just not like, we can talk about like Micah Parsons and everything like that and how valuable he is, which he is. This is super exciting, right? The lifeblood of a team is really players like Edgerrin Cooper. When you've got a player playing that insanely well already, making $1 million this year, has 2 more years of team control, and then even then you can franchise him after that, franchise him twice if you want to. Like it's insane how valuable that type of resource is. I'm not giving up that type of resource for pretty much anything, at this point. So there's ways to get that deal done, as you saw, without including Edgerrin Cooper. So to me, Edgerrin Cooper is a non-starter. Let's assume you could extend one more player from the 2022 draft class. Which one would you prioritize? Let's see here. 2022 would have been Walker, Wyatt, Watson, Ryan, Dobbs, Tom, Enigbari, Carpenter, Ford, Walker, and Toure? The answer to me is pretty clear here, and that's none of them. And that's not a disrespect to any of them in any way, shape, or form. I'm really excited to see what Quay Walker does this year. Devontae already has that 5th-year option picked up. I'm intrigued to see what Watson comes, coming back from that injury. I really like Sean Ryan at right guard. Romeo Doubs is set to be the starter at wide receiver. And then Rasheed Walker is obviously right now the starter at left tackle as well. There's a lot of good players there for Quay. I like Tyron Hopper. You've got Micah Parsons. You've got some other pieces there. Obviously, Adrian Cooper. I'm probably letting that play out unless you have an amazing year. We're probably going cheaper with Tyron Hopper moving forward. Devontae Wyatt's already got the 5th year. Christian Watson, I need to see coming back from injury. Sean Ryan, there's already a lot of resources into that offensive line. I need to kind of see how he plays this year, what Rasheed Walker, Jordan Morgan, Anthony Belton, etc. look like before I kind of make that decision. Romeo Doubs, I want to see Watson coming back. I want to see what Golden and Savion Williams look like. How do Wicks and Reed look this year? How does Doubs look this year? I want to see him play it out. Enigbari's not in that conversation. And then Rasheed Walker, I want to see how he plays at left tackle. Kind of, again, Belton and Morgan, how they look, how all of those guys up front look. So to me, there's no urgency there for any of them. And with the circumstances the way that they are, I kind of want to see all of them play that out before I get into a situation where I'm looking to extend any of them early. Daniel Whelan, I'm having conversations with. And then I'm probably waiting until next offseason where I'm going to figure out if I want to keep any of these players back. And then you start getting into the Tucker Kraft conversations pretty quickly after the season. Who decides what numbers can be worn and not worn? Would Ed Policy be the one to ultimately let players wear 0 and 1? So apparently they talked to Cliff Crystal about number 1 and asked if it was even unofficially retired or anything like that. And the answer was no. Nobody's ever worn it since Curly Lambeau. They've clearly been very cautious with it. But they did the research on it. They said, no, there's nothing stopping anyone from being number 1. This is, if you're going to make an exception or if even you're going to try to go in that direction, this is probably the right type of player to do it with. And then as far as 0, I don't know why they were against wearing number 0 at any point in time. I just don't. There's allegedly that like Josh Jacobs wanted to wear it and they said no. I don't know why. At the end of the day, I mean, Ed Policy has say over pretty much everything. So he could make that determination or overrule it. But I don't know who initially was standing in the way of anyone wearing 1 or 0. Does this also open up number 5? Because I think 5 is not officially retired either, right? Packers officially retired numbers. 3, 4, 14, 15, 66, 92. So obviously like 12 will be at some point. But does this open up number 5? That's another interesting question too. I don't know. I don't know the answers, but it is interesting now that 1 and 0 both available out there. Well, not for the foreseeable future, because hopefully Matthew Golden and Micah Parsons are wearing those for the foreseeable future moving forward. And is there any way I can change my Pack-A-Day handle back to Donald Lee instead of my email Dewey16? Thank you. I've been pretty much since day one. I don't know why YouTube is now putting these handles the way that they are or what's changing. So I don't know what the situation is there, nor why that's happening. I wish I had an answer for you, but it's certainly not anything that I have control over, at least as far as I know. Donald Lee is the ex-Packers tight end. Yes. I have you still on my wall of fame as Donald Lee. Don't worry about that, but I don't know why it's coming up that way. Andy, what are your expectations for Quay Walker this season? I really want to see him play the way that he did in that middle of the year and about that 3-game stretch where we saw him play the best football of his career. He's got a lot on the line. He's going into a contract year. This is a massive season for him. If he wants to stay in Green Bay, he's going to have a really good season, right? Because Tyron Hopper's, right at his heels to potentially take over next year if they do want to go in a different direction. Adrian Cooper's not going anywhere. Even Isaiah McDuffie already has that extension going into next year as well. So he has to go out and prove that he is the unquestioned inside linebacker for Green Bay, both now and moving forward. And I want to see him earn that. I want to see him take that and say, no, I'm getting that second contract in Green Bay. Nobody's taking that from me. And if they need to borrow money from the future to pay me, they're going to have to do that. But I just want to see him go out and be unquestioned that guy in the middle of the defense. I think he's going to have a good year. I think to some extent what you see with Quay is you'll get some good, you'll get some, just some inconsistencies here and there. But if we can see a little bit more of that good like we did in the middle of last year, that's what I'm really hoping to see from Quay Walker. And if we see that, again, that takes this defense even up another notch because he was really, really good during that point in time. At 5 p.m. today, I finally finished all of your lives and shows and all that you did. You, my friend, are a sicko and a legend. The rest of us sickos appreciate it. John, I'm happy you were able to finish it up. And thank you so much for doing that. I'm glad you liked it. Pretty epic that active roster was able to trade out Robinson for Parsons. Micah Robinson for Micah Parsons. Yeah, that the active roster was just a 1-for-1. Obviously, Kenny Clark played a role in that too, having that spot open. But I like the trade of Micah's. I will give you that. Happy Tuesday, Andy. We've almost made it, and I thank you for your hard work to help us get there. You're more than welcome, Mike. Thank you so much for all the support. And this is easy, right? I enjoy doing this stuff. There's certainly days where it takes a little bit more time, effort, energy. There's certainly some late nights every once in a while, usually due to procrastination. Sometimes just because stuff takes longer than I sometimes expect it to, but it's all worth it in the end, and it's fun to get to talk Packers with you guys every day. Been listening to lots of post-trade pods. The best one is the Ringer Fantasy Show, where they find out about the trade in the middle of their take purge show and lose their minds. Very funny. I'll have to check that out. We had one as well where Aaron and Jimmy and Jen were podcasting, and Jimmy just got done saying like, this is probably something that we don't actually end up seeing happen. And then Aaron had the breaking news and everyone just flipped out and freaked out. So if you haven't checked out that one as well in the audio podcast, that was a really, really fun one to listen to in real time. Pro Football Talk Live was good too. Florio said he got a text from an agent saying no agent will steer a player to the Cowboys now. Interesting. Yeah, Jerry does not come out looking good in this entire situation. We can agree on that. Don't the Packers ends mostly play sides? Do you think this will change to be able to move Micah around? I do know that Rashawn usually likes playing the right side, I want to say. And I always get it confused. I think it's the right side. Maybe it's the left side. Give me 1 second. By player, Rashawn Gary. Snaps by position, 2024, regular season, detailed description. It was left side. My bad. So left side for Rashawn Gary. So last year he played roughly 400 some snaps at left side, and he played about 170 snaps on the right side. So I know Micah played a lot on the left side as well. I just think that they're going to move those guys around a little bit more. Rashawn's very capable. Again, he played 170 some snaps on the right side. He can definitely do that. They're going to be able to switch those guys up. Sometimes Micah's not going to be in. Gary will go to his preferred side. LVN will go to the other. There'll be times where Gary and LVN are in and Mike is standing up or doing some crazy stuff. I don't foresee that being an issue at all. And they've already talked about that. Those guys will be able to play both sides. So also Micah is more than capable of playing both sides as well. So again, I don't have any major concern about that whatsoever. If anything, it just gives Jeff Hafley more opportunity to switch things up and move guys around. What injury is more concerning for Sunday, Hobbs or Jenkins? Well, we don't know what Jenkins' injury is yet or how long he's destined to be out, if at all. There's a chance where Monday was maybe more vet rest and he's back on Wednesday and it's much ado about nothing. There's a chance that Hobbs is back on Wednesday and practicing. We're just going to have to kind of wait and see how it goes. If you're asking me which one I'd rather have, I think I'd rather have Elton. I kind of want that offensive line intact. I think you could get by. I mean, so Walker, Banks, Ryan, Morgan, Tom is totally fine. So maybe it's Hobbs. I don't know. I feel like there are plans in place to be able to get past either of them. The one I'm concerned about is obvious passing situations of, are you keeping Javon in the slot in those situations, or are you pulling in a Bo Melton or something like that and either putting him in the slot or moving Keyshawn inside? Like those to me are a little bit more of the interesting questions, but yeah, you can make a real strong argument for which one you'd rather have. I just really like having that starting offensive line for Jordan, but I do trust the offensive line that's there, but I'm going to take Elton. I want Jordan protected in this one. Thanks for getting us through the offseason, Andy. I'm not saying we won the offseason, but it feels like all eyes are on us. Excited to see us put on a show. I am too. I'm excited to see what this looks like. And just remember, this is not a finished product yet. So whatever happens against Detroit, there's still a lot of time left, and it's going to take time for everything to gel together the exact way you want. Week 1 is always wonky. You're never quite sure what you're going to get. You have an immediate Thursday night football game after that. I still think 1-1 is not the worst outcome in the world here. Ideally, you would get that win against Detroit. Not that it's ideal to get a loss against Washington, but I still think 1-1 is still very, very good for those first 2 games. And then assuming that you can get the wins against, Cleveland and Dallas, get to 3-1, get to the bye week after that, and then really have everyone have that opportunity to kind of gel together a little bit more with Micah on defense, and maybe even getting Christian Watson back on offense after that. So whatever it is, give me 3-1 going into that bye week. I'll be pretty satisfied. And then let's see what kind of the rest of the season looks like after that. But really fun game, obviously, coming up on Sunday. What percentage of snaps do you expect for Micah versus the Lions? And should we expect a Khalil Mack-like debut? I will take a Khalil Mack-type debut as long as it includes a win. That's the one caveat there. But yeah, I would expect, I think, between 35 and 45 snaps for Micah this week. That I don't know what percentage that ends up being, but I'll say between 35 and 45. That's where I'd like him to be at. I think anything more than that, you're probably pushing it a little bit too hard, too fast. And you've got that immediate quick turnaround on Thursday Night Football. So give me between 35 and 45, and you can get a big lead and can sit him in the fourth quarter and things like that, even better. But I would guess somewhere in that range. Good evening to you, Andy. You fine, illustrious, dapper scholar. To say I am not anxious about Sunday would be a lie, but what a perfect way to test our mettle. Should have been the night game, though. Yeah, I mean, the night game is insane. I mean, not much things better than Buffalo and Baltimore. That's about as good as it gets for a matchup. So I have no main complaints there. Also, you're going to get your noon slate where you're going to be able to watch NFL Red Zone and see everything that happens on the noon slate. Then you get Packers Lions. Then you get a very epic game after that, with it being Ravens Bills. And then you get Monday Night Football, which has a lot of in division, viewership, because it's Bears and Vikings, and we get to see what this new offense looks like with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, and we get our first glimpse at JJ McCarthy. So to me, that's a very fun matchup, and I'm excited for that full slate. I think everything is going to be epic, and certainly that Lions-Packers game is a part of that as well. For those of you just joining, this is supposed to be our members-only Q&A. I forgot to mark it members-only because I'm an idiot. Everyone's welcome, obviously. I am just answering members' chats for now. If we have some time at the end, I will try to get to some other questions. I do have just under an hour because I do have a podcast that I'm going to be a guest on coming up at 9 p.m. Central Time. So get to the top of the hour or right there about, and then again, get to all the member questions, hopefully. And then if there's any time left over, I'll get to the other ones. Grassi's live reaction was amazing because Scooter was live with him at the time, and you can see his heart breaking. That's another good one for sure. Good evening, Fred. Andy, is it true that Devontae White is actually 36 years old? It is not true. Andy, if the Packers don't win the Super Bowl this year, will it most likely be because of the 2022 draft picking Devontae White instead of Travis Jones and Quay Walker instead of insert name? I don't think there's anything like that. I don't expect Goody to shoot 100% in any given draft or anything like that. I still think overall, you have a starting inside linebacker in Quay Walker, starting defensive tackle in Devontae Wyatt, starting receiver in Christian Watson, starting right guard in Sean Ryan, starting receiver in Romeo Doubs, epic right tackle in Zach Tom, rotational defensive end in Kingsley Enagbare, starting left tackle in Rasheed Walker. That is an insane draft. No, if they win the Super Bowl, the 2022 draft will be a huge reason why. I mean, that should be a draft. And again, I know you're looking sometimes for stars, which Zach Tom he's a star. And I know that, sometimes you want those, elite all-pro players or whatever, but that is, I mean, you get like what? Quay, Devontae, Watson, Ryan, Dobbs, Tom, and Rasheed. That's arguably 7 starters. And Kingsley Enagbare has started multiple games for you as well. That's a ridiculous draft. And so no complaints about that draft class at all. With Ben Johnson now in Chicago, what will be the biggest changes in offense for the Lions this week? Yeah, I don't think we know, Adam. I think we're about to find out what that offense looks like without Ben Johnson, what that defense looks like without Aaron Glenn. Some of the comments that they made is that it seems like maybe sometimes, Ben Johnson got a little bit too fancy, and it sounds like they almost want to get back to meat and potatoes a little bit more. I would expect a heavy dose of the run, especially against an interior defensive line that no longer has Kenny Clark and TJ Slayton. I think that's going to be the first test for Green Bay, is the interior of that defensive line. See if those guys can hold up. If it does, then Detroit's obviously going to pose some other questions. Can you stop the run without having to drag your safety into the box? If you have to drag a safety into the box, does that open things up for Jamison Williams and, Tesla and Amon-Ra St. Brown? I think that's going to be the cat and mouse game. So watch for them to go very run hungry early. And then if that works, they might just stick with it and then just nickel and dime you, play action, and just keep you off balanced. If it works, but Green Bay stops it by bringing a safety up to the box, and that stops it, then they're going to really go aggressive and probably try to get that safety out of the box, try to hit some of those deep shots down the field, especially to Jamison Williams. And then again, you're just going to have to be very careful with that as well. So this, again, very much a cat and mouse game, but my initial thought is we're going to see them run the ball heavy inside to test things out to begin with. I think it would be because of drop balls from receivers, if anything, going back to the why they would lose the Super Bowl. I get it. Andy, thanks for all you do for us Packer fans. So very much appreciate it. I know everyone is super excited about Golden, as am I, but I still feel Tucker Kraft should be the focus to our passing game. To me, if this offense is working the way that it should work, I don't know that you need a focus. The defense is going to tell you what your focus should be. What I mean by that is if they're keeping two safeties high, okay, the focus should be to run the ball with Josh Jacobs. Get them out of that too high shell. And with a bigger offensive line, Josh Jacobs at running back, good blocking wide receivers, Tucker Kraft at tight end, that should be able to work. Once you have that run game going, get that play action game going. And with the two high safety still, if they're running that, there's going to be a lot of stuff for Tucker Kraft underneath with run after the catch, Jaden Reed underneath with run after the catch, Josh Jacobs check downs, and take what's there. Take what's given to you. Let those guys do the heavy lifting, and we're going to see Tucker Kraft eat in that situation. If you start seeing, hey, we got to stop the run, safety comes down, all right, we're going to attack in the passing game. We're going to spread you out, and we're going to try to see what we can get some mismatches. And you've got Matthew Golden, you've got a route runner in Dontavian Wicks, you've got some speed eventually with Christian Watson, possession guy in Romeo Dobbs, you've got Tucker Kraft, who's a mismatch piece, Josh Jacobs, you can still check it down to, and there's a lot of things that you can do that way. To me, this is a let the defense decide what they want to do, and then pick apart whatever it is. To me, Green Bay has the ability to hang in any world that they want to hang in, because you can't do everything. You can't stop the run and stop the pass simultaneously. At least it's very difficult to do so. I mean, if you're in too high and you're still stopping the run, then yeah, Green Bay's going to have some problems. They're going to have to figure out a way to run the ball against that look, or it's going to be a long day at the office. But to me, Green Bay has the personnel and the offensive play caller to attack whatever defenses want to give them and take advantage of that. So sometimes it doesn't have to be super complicated. What the defense is willing to give you, take it. And now they have the people, in my opinion, to do the heavy lifting after the fact, break some of those tackles, and Tucker Kraft should still be a massive part of that one way or the other. Jennifer, good to see you. It's been a hot second. Glad you were able to make it today. Can we just give Matt and Goot their flowers for a masterclass transition from the Rodgers era to the Love era without blowing up the core principles of the Packers? They've made hard decisions look easy. I do think there's something to that. What is it? Evil Eddie. Like I've said, I think they are worthy of being praised. And I think all of the fire LaFleur, fire Goody stuff, or are they on the hot seat? I think it's just beyond ridiculous. I think it's beyond ridiculous. I think they've both done a really fantastic job of building these teams, keeping the Packers culture intact, consistently putting together winning football teams, going from Rodgers to Love, and having things basically not skip a beat. To me, that all is deserving of credit. I will say, and like I said the other day, I still think flowers and, heapings of praise and things like that, statues, road names, that's for Super Bowls. So I think you have to earn that level. But I think everyone should be at least pretty much in the same. I know they're not, but I think everyone should be in the same vein of, hey, let's give them credit for what they've done, what they've built. Let's see how this team performs this year. And there is going to be an added layer of expectation and pressure that goes along with a move like this. But let's see if they rise to that level. And hopefully we see Goody and Matt, and I guess Ed Policy, Jordan Love, Micah Parsons up on that podium holding that Lombardi trophy. Andy, back to Hall of Fame, got to be along for the championship ride this year, going to Pittsburgh to see A-Rod go down. That's awesome, SFP574. Thanks so much for being here. And I'm assuming that means Hall of Fame member. I'm not sure exactly. I think that's what you mean by either way. Appreciate you being a member, and thanks so much for signing up. Appreciate that a ton. Andy, how does the Pick'em League work? Do we pick every game on the slate? Every game on the slate, and it's spread-based. So you got to pick against the spread. You're not just getting the easy ones for free. Every game is against the spread. So good luck, buckle in. It's not going to be easy, and I'm excited to see who comes out on top. And I'm coming for you. If I win, I don't got to give anyone tickets. That's my thought on it. So I'm going to try to win as well. Does Luigi's got a gluten-free pizza because celiac sucks? Celiac does suck. I'm sorry about that. Not fun. I do not believe they have a gluten-free pizza, but I'll put in a good word for you if nothing else. All right. Over under 55 team sacks this year, and over under 30 for Parsons and Gary. I'll take under 30 for Parsons and Gary. That's still a lot. I'll take slightly under 55 as well, but I bet it's pretty close to that range. What did they have last year? They had 45. So is he worth 10 more? It's probably close. I bet he's worth like 9 more. I'm going to say they end up with like 53, 54. So I'm going to say slightly under on both of those, but I bet it's close. Holmes, yo to you as well. Last season's Lions went for it on fourth down 7 times. They were successful 6 of the 7, scoring 4 touchdowns. What do the Packers have to do different this year to be sure that doesn't happen again? I think one of the lessons that Green Bay really needs to take away from last year, especially from the Lions game, is if it's 3rd and 7, you can't allow 5. The sort of the old school thinking is, hey, it's 3rd and 7. If we hold them to a check down and keep them at 5 yards, it's 4th and 2. They're going to punt the ball away or they're going to kick a field goal. No, sir. It's not how it works anymore. And you have to think if you're going to, on 3rd and 7, hold them to a 4th and 1 or a 4th and 2, that the opposing team is going to go for it and they've got a real great chance to pick it up. That's not the world that you necessarily want to live in. So I think that to me is a big piece of that. That's a hard thing, by the way. That's not just Green Bay. It's hard to defend for 4 downs. It's hard to defend for 3 downs. It's really hard to defend for 4 downs because, we talk about it all the time. You get teams in a 3rd and long, and that's how you're going to get them off the field, right? You can hold them before the sticks. But now even in 3rd and long situations, if they get into 4th and 3, 4, 2, 1, whatever it might be, they're just as apt to still go for it. That's not a hold. I don't really, quite frankly, want to see anymore where a team's on 3rd down and it's 3rd and long and they hold them to a 4th and short and everyone's like pumping, like they got the fist up in the air, the 4th down, we got them 4th down. It's 4th and inches in today's NFL. They've already converted the 1st down. I mean, like what, 80, 85%, 88%, something crazy in some of these tush-push situations, especially if it's against Philly. So no, I don't want celebrations on 3rd down anymore. When they punt the ball away, you can celebrate. If you see the punt team coming on the field, or if it's 4th and 18, sure, go ahead, celebrate. Put that fist up in the air to signal 4th down. I'm fine with that. But if you held them to a 4th and 1 or a 4th and 2, job not done. Buckle in, because now you've got a really difficult down coming up. Because they're going to try to run it right at you, or they're going to have a play call that they've practiced all week for that specific scenario that's probably found a weakness in your defense that they're going to try to exploit. So good luck, because now you're going to end up in a really difficult situation on that particular play. So I think that has to be the difference. And it's not just for Green Bay. I think that's league wide. Just because you got somebody in a 4th and 2 does not mean you've won that drive. They're probably going for it. Wondering how much game film you have watched on Parsons. I'm seeing a good amount of clips on Rundy where he gets lazy and takes plays off. Have you seen anything during your film watch? I have not seen that, Landon. I'm 3-4 games in now. And I have not seen that type of play. I've seen way more good stuff from Micah in run defense than bad stuff. And I have no concern about it at the moment. Maybe as I get later in the season, you have to remember he did deal with some injury stuff. So maybe that stuff happens coming off the injury where he just can't hold up as well. But at least early in the season, no, this dude looks phenomenal on pretty much every single down. So I'll keep an eye on it, but thus far, no concerns whatsoever. In fact, to me, he is a plus run defender for these first few games on tape so far. Parsons did destroy that blocking sled. I got drunk and drafted all the Packers I could. I ended up with Josh Jacobs, Golden, Kraft, Aaron Jones, the Packers defense, and Brandon McManus, the kicker. I will say, Kyle, that's a pretty good list, all things considered, because what I would tell you is stay away from wide receivers, because I think there's just going to be too many mouths to feed on the offense. I would tell everyone, if you're going to go with anyone, go with Jacobs and Kraft. Those are the 2, or maybe Love, right? Like those would be the 3 where I'd say, I think there's still upside. But if you are going to go with a wide receiver, I'd say go with Golden. And then obviously Aaron Jones is in Minnesota. I think some of his stuff might get sniped from, Jordan Mason. That's the one thing you have to worry about there. Packers defense could be very good, and McManus is a very good kicker. So I think if you're going to do it, you probably did it the right way, Kyle. Andy, with the exception of corner, I feel solid. Any more info on Jenkins? Nothing new on Jenkins that I've seen so far. I think corner will be okay, but you would like to see everyone healthy, including Hobbs, certainly. Andy, locker room wise, does losing Kenny and adding Micah make anything weird or awkward for the players? Does Gary get motivated or annoyed by the office that they needed to add someone? I think this is a total add overall to the team. I don't think there's any angst or frustration. I think Rashawn and LVN and those guys probably realized that their job just became a whole heck of a lot easier, that they don't have to see as many double teams and things like that anymore. So they've got to be ecstatic about that. I think the word bittersweet that pretty much everyone has used is right. There's nobody that wanted to see Kenny go. from Brian to Matt to Jeff Halfley to the entire player group. There's nobody that wants to see Kenny go. It's just an unfortunate, piece of collateral damage that goes along with getting one of the best defensive players in all of the league. I don't think anyone is confused in that entire locker room as to why Green Bay would do this. It's one thing if you traded away Kenny Clark and you got I don't know, who's a mid-tier defensive end or something like Dante Fowler, right? Let's say the same team and you traded Kenny Clark for Dante Fowler. And it's that's a weird thing to do. Yeah, you got a new pass rusher, but you gave away your best interior rusher. I think everyone is left scratching. It's not even against anything of Dante Fowler. Dante Fowler might have a better season this year than Kenny Clark. I doubt it, but maybe he does, right? But it's not even anything against the players. Just that seems like more of a head scratcher. When it's Micah Parsons, everyone gets it. Everyone understands it. Everyone's excited. That locker room is going to be a little bit more juiced up with Micah Parsons there. So no, I don't think there's anything weird or awkward. I think if anything, players are motivated because they just added another stud to this defense, and everyone knows that that's going to open up things for everyone else to help be better. So no, I don't think there's anything like that whatsoever. Gary and Micah seem polar opposites is why I ask. I don't know. I think they're going to really enjoy playing with each other. I really, really do. I think those two are going to be really good bookends together, and I think they're going to complement each other very well. Who signed the contract? Micah and Ed, Goody, someone else? I don't know. Well, I would assume that Ed is ultimately the one that signs it, but that's a great question. I don't know the exact answer to that question. If it's Russ Ball as the finance guy, or if I would assume it's Russ or Ed, but I would assume Ed would be my guess. Andy, thank you for all you do. What do you think about Skip Bayless's comments saying Micah Parsons really does not show up in big games like the playoffs? Pips, I say this to you in kindness. We don't talk about he who should not be named in Pack-A-Day. That is a mouth-breathing, loud, obnoxious, say loud things for the sake of saying loud things human being who deserves 0% oxygen when it comes to the sports scene or any other scene whatsoever. So we don't talk about loud, mouth-breathing, obnoxious, yell at cloud sort of human beings that yell for the sake of yelling. I'll just put it that way. Whatever he says, just usually believe the opposite, and you're usually going to be in a pretty good place. Hobbs bothers me the most. I believe he may be ready for the Browns. No one on the planet would trade Cooper. Yeah, we'll see about Hobbs. I wouldn't put it past him, this week. But we'll see. We'll see if he practices Wednesday or Thursday. I would guess he needs to probably practice Thursday in order to go. But I'm sure they're going to give, as Matt would be apt to say, they'll give him through the week. I will be at the game on Sunday. Looking forward to seeing Micah in uniform. Who will score the Packers' first touchdown this season? I'll go chalk here. I'll go Josh Jacobs gets the first touchdown, but Golden wouldn't surprise me. Dobbs wouldn't surprise me. Kraft wouldn't surprise me. How about Love with a rushing touchdown too? That would be a fun one, but I'll take Josh Jacobs. I'll take the chalk in this one. Yeah, I don't think anyone's necessarily concerned about Carrington starting, right? If Hobbs can't play, I don't think that's the concern. Carrington and Nixon are going to be out there a ton anyway. I think the big thing is in obvious passing downs. If Bullard's still out there, you'd really, really prefer that Hobbs were out there. And it's an interesting way to look at it as well. If Hobbs does come back later in the week and maybe isn't 100%, one thing that you could look at doing is just starting Valentine and Nixon and Bullard in the slot, and then having Hobbs just play the slot on obvious passing downs. So maybe limiting him to, 30, 35 snaps instead of playing the full complement where normally he'd play outside on base downs and then on, inside on obvious passing downs. I think maybe that would be one way to limit him a little bit more so that he doesn't have quite as much on his plate, maybe coming back from that injury if he can get into that point. How'd Andy pull up the 2022 draft class so fast? I'm a fast typer, my friends. Watson, clear answer, even if it is a year or two deal. I don't mind that. But to me, I just need to see how he comes back from injury. And listen, I don't, as you guys know, I'm not a huge into the injury prone, whatever. He has to prove he can stay healthy. It's legitimate when you're in year 4 and you've missed a decent amount of time in your first 3 years, have a torn ACL and MCL on the record already. And now we're coming back from that torn ACL and MCL. Before I'm willing to put any sort of big contract out there, I really just need to see him stay healthy through the remainder of this year. And even then, if it does, I might just count my blessings and say, hey, we finally got that mostly healthy Christian Watson year. Maybe I'll let somebody else write that $18 million a year contract for him. And I just go with Golden, Reed, Wicks and Savion Williams and maybe add another wide receiver in the draft next year or something like that. It's an interesting conversation for sure. Not a drafty, but to Merkelai's question about the 2022 draft, I would extend Dan Whelan. I just talked about that. Dan Whelan's definitely in my conversation for sure. Micah Parsons should see about 20 snaps on Sunday. I think a little bit more than that, 35 to 45 is probably where I think you can probably get him to. I think more than that, you start overworking him a little bit this early in the season based on not having training camp and things like that. Maybe you've discussed this in the past, but besides injury, what would make the Parsons trade a failure? You know, all NFC North rival fans will call it a failure if we don't win a Super Bowl. And there's a couple things that can make it a failure, right? I think when you make a move this bold and you have the team that you already have, if they don't at least make a Super Bowl, I mean, even that you're doing this to win a Super Bowl, right? So your goal is to, in the Jordan Love, Micah Parsons era, win a Super Bowl. That is inherent in this sort of deal. That's what you're trying to do. You're opening that window to win a Super Bowl. So I think at some point, it doesn't have to be multiple Super Bowls. It doesn't have, but you're doing this in the next 3, maybe 4 years to win a Super Bowl. So that's the bar. I don't think that's out of bounds to say that. I think outside of that, if Micah just ends up not playing well for however long the contract is, that would also be a big loss in this, right? If he ends up just, hitting a wall, not being the same guy, whatever the case may be, that would also, even if you won a Super Bowl somehow, which would be very hard to do if that ended up being the case. But even if you won a Super Bowl, but Micah is just, not great the entire time, it was just like another guy, there would still be a level of disappointment to that. So you would get by it by winning the Super Bowl, but to me, it's twofold. Micah's got to be good, and you probably need to win a Super Bowl in these next 4 years would be my guess. Maybe, he's going to be here maybe longer, so maybe you have a little bit longer than that. But in the Micah Parsons, Jordan Love era, your goal is to win a Super Bowl. There's no question about that. Detroit is on the calendar. What are the main things you're looking forward to now that football is back? I don't know, everything, literally everything. Watching tape, talking to you guys every day, watching Packers football, digging into these games, seeing what went right, what went wrong, talking to Mike Wall and Justice Mosqueda and Paul Brettel and the Paul Farrington guys and Carmen Vitale and just all of it. I'm excited for all of it. Every single second of it. I'm juiced. I'm excited. I'm excited for Thursday Night Football. Even if it's going to be weird seeing Kenny Clark in a Cowboys jersey, I'm excited for Friday Night Football. I'm excited for Monday Night Football. I'm in what Caleb and JJ McCarthy look like. Literally everything, Evil Eddie. Life is good right now. Do you see the league cracking down on front-loaded contracts as it kind of allows the team to circumvent the cap by allowing the player to invest the signing bonus and accrue significant interest? I don't see that. No, I see, if anything, you're going to start seeing some of the void years sort of close up. That, to me, gets into a stickier situation where you're just constantly borrowing from the future and teams end up spending a lot of money year by year. So that would be more of what I think they close up, not the front-loading of contracts. Still think the Packers still need a defensive tackle after Kenny's gone. I think it's too early to make that determination, Harps86. I asked Goody about it in that press conference, and he felt very confident about the defensive tackles before this has ever happened. Jeff Hafley has spoken insanely high of the defensive tackles on this team. So to me, let them show it first. Let's see what Wooden and Brooks and Wyatt and Brinson and Stackhouse can do. If they can hold up and play good football on the interior, probably don't need to do anything. If it doesn't look great, and you're about to find out very quickly against Detroit's offense, I know their offensive interior isn't as good anymore with losing their center Ragnow and then Zeitler at right guard. But still, you're going to learn pretty quick if you can hold up against the run game against Detroit. And I think, what we have to realize is you don't always have to make every aggressive move right away. There's going to be a trade deadline. There's going to be some moves that you can make down the road. There's guys that you can pick up. There's still some free agent defensive tackles out there. So yeah, I think you gauge it first and then you course correct if needed, but don't jump to too many conclusions before need be. I think you let them kind of play it out first. All right. Salute Andy. Free agent Christian Wilkins. Hear me out. Fits really well with the defense. If we're now more aggressive with talent acquisition, I think it would be worth it to have our docs take a look. I don't disagree with that last part, right? So and by the way, do you know who Christian Wilkins' agent is? David Mulugheta. same as Jordan Love, Micah Parsons, etc. Right? So Xavier McKinney, those things have a way of sticking together. You have to do twofold on this. You have to have your doctors check it out, and then you have to really do your homework on what all of the other stuff was. The fact that the Raiders gave up on him so aggressively after giving him that monster and massive deal is telling. And I think the last thing that you want to do is, if the locker room is good and the vibes are amazing, is bring something in that may ruin that in any way, shape, or form. So I'm with you on the second part. Sure. Bring him in for an interview, bring him in for a med check, do all of that stuff. That's great. I have no problem with any of those things. But if there's any inkling that medically or just personality wise that he's not going to be a fit, then stop there. So do your due diligence. No question about it. If there's anyone that does their due diligence, it's Brian Gutekunst and company. So I think they're going to see how this defensive tackle room plays. And if they feel like they need something, maybe they take a look. But I have no issue with them vetting it out. But I think it needs to be vetted out to a pretty large extent. 1652, a failure of Parsons as a catastrophic injury in the draft capital we spent become all pros, otherwise not possible. Yeah, I think there's a couple other things. Again, if he just doesn't play well, or if you ultimately can't win it all, there'll still be a level of disappointment to that, in my opinion. If somehow, God forbid, Lloyd misses the entire year, what do? Keep, cut, exist? If Marshawn Lloyd were to miss the entire year, you don't do anything. There's no reason to cut him. There's zero upside of releasing him. So there's no benefit to that whatsoever. You have him miss the entire year. You have him come back in training camp next year. You don't count on anything. You're not counting his spot on the roster, but you give him every opportunity in training camp to show he can be healthy and that he can still be a weapon on this team. And if he has another injury, or if he shows he can't do that, then you move on. But you give him every opportunity again next year. And if he goes 0 for 3 and in his third year he can't play, well, then you probably have your answer at that point in time. But it doesn't seem like it's trending that way. Lloyd should be back not too far into the season. And then hopefully we see the dynamic player that he ultimately can become, because I think there is so much freaking talent there. I need to get my expectations set. Should I expect Jordan to be 2023 Jordan based on what you've seen so far this offseason? This is the $1 million question. I don't think anyone has a great feel for exactly the Jordan Love experience that we're about to get. I don't know for sure. I wish I did. I think he's going to be really good. I think he has the offense, the weapons that are needed. I think he's got the offensive line that's needed. I don't think the left thumb is going to affect him. I think outside of that, he's very healthy. The expectation and the goal is for him to look like a top 10 quarterback at worst. Can he do that? Can he be consistent? Can he be that guy game in and game out? We're about to find out. It's an insanely tough schedule. There's a lot of really good teams on it, and the bar is really, really high. I think he's going to meet it. I think he can exceed it. But to me, I've said all offseason, 2025 will be the defining year for Jordan Love. This is it. This is year 6, year 3 as a starter. What you get this year is probably long-term Jordan Love. There may be a year that's slightly better. There may be a year that's slightly worse, but this sets the bar for Jordan Love to me forever. Like, this is who he's going to be until he hits some crazy decline at the end of his career, right? This is who he will be. I don't think we're going to get any crazy juice up or down following this. So we're about to find out in a real significant way this upcoming season exactly what, hopefully, fingers crossed, healthy, full year, high expectations Jordan Love looks like. And I think he's ready to set the bar very, very high, but we have to see it in person to believe it. And I'm a believer, but it's going to take one game at a time and him proving it week in and week out. I think Parsons is better for us from the edge. I just think you can line that dude up anywhere. If you've seen some of the stuff, him lined up over center or over guard, that stuff is terrifying. Just line him up over the weakest link a lot of times, and that's usually your best point of attack, to be honest. He's a terminal rusher from inside. He destroys people. He can play anywhere, and I've watched all 746 snaps from last season. My 2 cents. Yeah, you can definitely line him up anywhere. Andy, have you gotten a chance to talk to Mike Wall about the Parsons trade? I have not. We are not touching base this week. We're supposed to touch base next Monday, but he's going to be in Green Bay for the game this Sunday. I'm excited for him for that. And then we'll be talking next Thursday. So that'll be the first time I have the opportunity to talk to him. Micah Parsons can win at any position on the front. If he is not accounted for, God bless. The dude could probably play corner if he had to. Gary plays left. They will both switch a lot. Totally agreed. Gary did say in his last interview he was in that he'd be willing to move if Micah wanted to. I'm more along the lines of what you suggested with basically MP up anywhere. Totally agreed. NASCAR package, Micah, Gary, Van Ness on the inside, Quay and Cooper. Yes, please. There's a lot. There's a lot you can do. She said, Joey, we walked through a lot of this the other day with some of those unique formations and lineups. So there's a ton that you can do. McKinney being a force multiplier in the secondary, now combined with Parsons being that closer to the line, moving everyone to an easier secondary role is potentially magnificent. Yeah, again, McKinney at safety, Parsons on the second level. Cooper on the second level, Parsons on that first level. They're going to have stars pretty much everywhere. I've been hearing that Parsons has a complex personality. Do you think his personality could disrupt our current culture or the reverse? Our guys are so grounded that they help him. We'll see. I think it's going to be just fine. Here's the thing, Autumn, I will tell you, winning it fixes all of that. Yeah, if things aren't going great, some of those things can fester and be a little bit more annoying and maybe are a little bit more of a problem. If you're winning, probably is not an issue. Probably everyone's pretty happy in that locker room. Go out and win. You got a stud, figure out the rest later, and they'll be able to massage some of those things as time goes on if need be, but I don't have a major concern on it right now. Maybe it turns out different. Maybe it ends up being more of an issue, especially if they're losing and things get a little cantankerous in that locker room, but hopefully they're just winning, things go well, and we see a very positive atmosphere for everyone involved. Hobbs is typically a 6-week recovery for a pro bowler. He may be out until the Browns. Maybe. We'll see. Greetings from Las Vegas. Did the Packers come out of the gate in 12 personnel? Yeah. I think they do. I think 2 tight ends, two wide receivers, Jacobs in the backfield. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say 12 personnel on that first snap. Got my eye on Grover Stewart at the trade deadline. Hopefully the defensive tackles are amazing and we don't need a trade. It's a great name. I would not hate that in any way, shape, or form. I'd be all for that. What have you seen from Wooden in preseason to make you feel confident maybe in him being a potential day one starter? He's been really good. He's been really solid. I think he's really good with his hands. I think he's held up better at the point of attack with that extra weight, some functional strength up on that defensive line. To me, this is going to, again, have to be something that he goes out and proves in the regular season, but he's looked so much better, is held up at the point of attack, has been disruptive into the backfield. I think he's going to fit this defense very, very well for what Jeff Hafley's asking him to do, but it's going to take one thing at a time to see him prove it again, day in and day out, or week in and week out. I predict we will see a considerable great percentage of 12. Could be the case. Life is good. Ice Cold Gaming. Thank you so much for being here. Andy, don't listen to the haters. I'm willing to listen to a 10-hour pod of just Micah Parsons talk. Love you, Andy. You guys know I'll do it. So, it doesn't really matter what people think is the big thing. If I want to do a 4-hour pod, I'm going to do a 4-hour pod. And if it's just me and Justice talking for 4 hours and nobody's there, then it's just me and Justice talking for 4 hours and nobody's there. But we had, I think, 2,000 some people in chat. So yeah, I was not exactly upset with the outcome of that one. Micah Parsons, after 99 years, I'm the one. I like that a lot. Has Carl Brooks looked as good as many say? Didn't hear a lot about it in camp or preseason. Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what he does in the regular season. I thought he had a relatively quiet camp personally. So yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do in the regular season with just a little bit more opportunity now that Kenny's gone. To me, defensive tackle has got, the microscope on it to see what those guys can do. I'm a big Warren Brinson guy. I think he can come in and contribute right away. There's a lot of hope and excitement about Stackhouse. I think Brinson is much better at this point in time. And hopefully I'm right. And hopefully he can go out and play at a high level right away, because Green Bay would gladly take that if that ends up being the case. Not an actual quote, just pumped for this new era. Fair. I like that quote though. 20 to 30. Yeah. Again, I still think that's a little bit low, but we'll see. We'll see. John, thank you for the super chat. I do think LVN will play inside a little bit more. I still think his primary position is defensive end. But again, these are new times. These are new situations, and we're going to have to see how the Packers defense kind of massages some of this stuff as time goes on. And we could see a lot of new stuff, a lot of new wrinkles, a lot of new formations, schemes, personnel sets, etc. And I think that's the really fun part about all this is Jeff Hafley it's all at his fingertips. He can call anything he wants, and he's going to have some fun players to go in and rotate around and do some really fun things. Thank you, Chisa Joey, for the super chat. Do you think Wilkins is a possibility? I know he has the injury and whatever the hell happened with him in Vegas, but I think he'd be a great get. Again, same thing we talked about earlier. Bring him in, get him out if you want. Figure out where the things stand with the locker room stuff. Figure out the injury stuff. And if you feel like he's a fit, awesome. Try it out. If not, then go in the other direction. But that's one you're going to have to, I think, be very cautious with. Carla's giving out gifts in the members only chat that's supposed to be for members only, but I screwed it up and forgot to mark it members only. So glad you guys were all able to get here. This is a great sneak preview. If you have not done the members only chats, make sure you get into these, sign up to become a member. It's a great time. I love chatting with these guys and gals every single week on our members only chats. It's one of the, I think, more fun conversations we have all week long. So if you're not a member yet, now is a great time to sign up. Yeah, I know, Ben, you're a big Bills fan as well. I never quite understood the double team, but hey, at least it's an AFC team and you do you. That should be a really fun game with Baltimore. No question about it. But always go Pack Go, of course. Probably irrelevant, but I feel like Parsons trade really takes pressure off of Golden since he's not the only shiny new toy to focus on. I think it takes pressure off a lot of different things. I just think the focus will be on Micah and what he can bring to the table. And hopefully the rest of this team can just go out and perform, not have too much pressure on anyone individually, and can just go out and show the world what they're capable of. Because there's a really talented football team with young up and coming players, but they got to go out against the best of the best. I think Detroit is certainly in that category and show that they can win, especially at home. This is a big game right off the bat. R.R. Smith, you know what? I want Detroit. They swept us last year. I want my guys, first game or not, to take that personally. I want to restore my fear of Lambeau home field. Well said, R.R. Smith. I love that. Let's see. I designed a piss heater that was delivered to the stadium. Should be lit. Awesome. Can't wait. Colin Oliver, when he gets back, should be stuck like glue to Parsons' side. What a great player to learn from. Keely, great call on that. Baron Sorrell as well. Those two are going to be in great positions. They're a little bit probably buried at the moment. You got Parsons, you got Gary, you've got Enigbare, you've got Brenton Cox, and then you get to probably Sorrell and then Colin Oliver after that once he gets back. So those guys are going to have some time to learn the defense, learn from Micah, learn from Rashawn, and hopefully take some things away from it along the way as well. Chicago can't run the ball, not against the Packer front. They can't. Well, we're about to find out. Not yet. At the end of the year, though, we will. I do not think Parsons is a finesse player. Way too many times on tape, I've seen him run right through faces. There's a game week 1 last year against Joel Bitonio, one of the best, most physical guards in football. Parsons just runs right through his face. I mean, no, not a finesse player at all. He can do a lot of finesse stuff. He can do all the strength stuff too. I do not view him as a finesse player. I don't want Aaron Donald out of retirement, Tyler, because that would mean he's a Ram, and that Ram front is already really, really good, and they don't need Aaron Donald on top of it. Braden Fisk, Aaron Donald, Byron Young, and Jared Verse. That no, thank you. That's too good. I don't want anything to do with that. Yeah, Rams would still hold his rights. I just got gifted a membership. Thank you. That was Carla who did that. So thank her. Bob Sturm was greatness. Been seeing, hearing him since the first day at the Ticket in Dallas. Yeah, he was on the radio show this morning for those who missed it. You can search Pack-A-Day radio show on YouTube as well and find that conversation. Really fun one with Bob Sturm from Dallas this morning. No one needs to crash a safety to play the run as long as Scoop and Quay are out there. I hope you're right, Holmes. I hope you are right. Outside of Tom and Wyatt, do you believe any other 2022 draftees will still be on the roster in 2026? Do you think the Packers will get the maximum 4 comp picks? I do think they'll get the maximum 4 comp picks. My guess is one of those players is back. Which one it is, your guess is as good as mine. I might say Sean Ryan. Actually, I don't know. They don't always love Sean Ryan for whatever reason. It doesn't seem like. I don't know. I don't know which one it is, but my guess is one of those guys is back. I just don't know which one yet. Get Grant Bills, Paul Farrington's contact info. All right, I will do that. Dan Campbell leaving Green Bay, holding Matt's pocket. All right, we'll see. You have the chess pieces on offense to play regardless of whatever the opposing defense is doing, especially when 9 comes back. That's going to be a big one. No question about it. Passing game will lean on quick hitters and intermediate route concepts with Golden, Wicks, and Reed. I think we will see some of that. We'll definitely see some downfield passing concepts as well. No question about it. If Goody knew he'd be able to trade for Parsons and how good Golden would look, do you think he'd take Atlanta's deal? Okay, if Goody knew he'd be able to trade for Parsons and how good Golden would look, do you think he'd take Atlanta's deal? Atlanta's deal, you're talking about all right, hold on. I know which trade you're talking about for Pierce. I have to look at this again. I think the answer is no, because they lose out on Golden if that's the case, right? So I guess I'm a little bit confused by the question, John, because with knowing how good Golden looks, I think it's less likely he would take that trade because you lose out on Golden if you take that trade. So no, I don't think I don't think he takes that either way. I think he wants Matthew Golden on this team. I think he's probably even more convicted by it now than he was at the time. I do like the idea of opening the engagement with Jacobs because he can be so overpowering, particularly if they're beefing up the line and play from there. Yeah, Jacobs is going to be a huge part of this offense, no question. Hey, Andy, Micah Parsons. Yeah, good at football. Excited to have him on the team. 3rd and long is best case scenario. It certainly is. Trying to get some of the Luigi's Pizza out in Vegas. Good luck. I know they don't have it out there, but I know you're missing out. And for those of that have access to Luigi's, just be grateful you do. It's epic. It's amazing. No quarter on 3rd down this season. It's a loser. Again, I think you have to mix things up. I don't think you can go away from it entirely, but I understand the sentiment for sure. What's good, Andy? Can you explain what an option bonus is and why it's helpful? Huber and Ingles. Yeah, my biggest thing is I only got a couple minutes here left, but go read Huber and Ingles' article today, and that will give you as much info on option bonuses as you can probably handle. I'll just put it that way. Why can a player be good at kick returns but not necessarily punt returns? They're two totally different things. So the first of all is kick return, right? When you catch it, there's nobody around you. It's just your guys in front of you. And if you muff it, you can still recover it, etc. So there's not as much pressure on the immediate return, like the guy catching it, and there's not guys around him. Also, the kick return is more like a run play. It's more like you've got blockers in front of you. You're trying to set up certain gaps and wedges and things like that. It is more conducive to straight line speed, one cut and go. All right. With punt return, it's almost more like a bubble screen or a tunnel screen. You've got guys that are all flying around you. You've got to be able to catch the ball cleanly every single time. That is paramount. And then you've got to be able to make things happen after the catch as well. So to me, kick return, a variety of different people can do it, but you have to have the speed and the vision. Punt returner, a little bit more agility in and out of cuts, having the ability to catch it with chaos going on around you, and just really smart decision making as well as to whether or not you should return, fair catch, etc. So just two totally different skill sets. All right, I do have to get out of here, guys. What realistic contributions to believe the Packers can get from their redshirt draftees from last year who missed significant time with injuries? I'm still hopeful that Watson and Marshawn Lloyd can have huge impacts on this team. We're going to have to see it to believe it, but I'm still very hopeful that both of them can. I'm going to finish up with any other super chats that I might have missed. All right, just making sure here. No concerns at run defense at the moment, but it's definitely going to be one of those things. Oh my God, I didn't realize there were so many super chats. Apologies. I do have to get out of here in like a minute, guys, but no concerns at the moment. I think this is a team run defense that's not just based on Kenny Clark or anything like that. I think they're still going to be okay, but they're going to have to prove it. Is Micah's L4, L5 joint issue legit? Or are they playing it up a bit to kind of cover him with holding with the Cowboys? I think this is a little bit of a spin. There's probably a little bit of a back issue, but I'm not super concerned about it at the moment either. Todd, thank you for the super chats. Do they trade for a defensive tackle at the deadline? Only if they need to. Hopefully their guys as is can hold up. Kevin, thank you for becoming a new member. Win-loss prediction for the season before and after Micah. I'll go over my predictions for the season upcoming this week on a show, so stick around for that. I don't agree that it's a failure without a Super Bowl win. We already have one because they went for it, so pumped that we have a team willing to push it all in. Let's go. No, we can agree to disagree on that. I think ultimately at the end of the day, you open up this window to win a Super Bowl. It's about winning championships in Green Bay. There's probably ways where it can maybe be semi-successful or whatever, and maybe not a failure. But you're in it to win banners and championships in Green Bay. And so to me, that's the goal. Todd, thank you for the chat. Do we need to defer more often when we win the coin toss? I understand trying to get a lead, but too often we let teams double up before and after. I like receiving. I've always liked receiving. I want to go down and set the tone right away. I want to get points, and then I want teams chasing you the rest of the way. Who is Brian Gutekunst? He's the general manager of the Green Bay Packers. When was the last time you remembered the top three Packers not being drafted by the Packers? Parsons, Jacobs, and Xavier. Yeah, that's an interesting. Well, I guess no. I guess Leroy was 96, but man, Brett, not a Packer. Reggie, not a Packer. You can pick another one on that, list of amazing players on that team too. Whether it's Santana Dotson, Sean Jones, Eugene Robinson, obviously guys on offense as well. The third would probably be Leroy in that situation. So he probably makes it so that, but Reggie and Brett, certainly. And again, a lot of other players on that team, not Packers either. Desmond Howard, Andre Rison, we can go on and on. Bruce Wilkerson, Ron Cox, There's a lot of them. So you can definitely go in that conversation there as well. All right, friends, I do have to get out of here. Thank you so much for joining. Sorry to the members if I didn't get to all of your chats, because I know I accidentally opened this up to everyone, but thank you to everyone for being here. Sign up for a membership if you haven't already. The rest of these will be members only, I promise. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.